Hello, welcome to episode one of the International Citizen Student Show. My name is Alex Benson. I'm from the University of Chester. I'm the Associate Dean for International and Associate Professor. And I'm very pleased to be introducing you to my two co-hosts. Firstly, Trevor, could you introduce yourself?
All right. Apologies for that. Hi, everyone. My name is Trevor Murray. I'm the MBA director here at the University of Chester. Having been an international student myself, indeed, I'm looking forward to sharing these times and sharing my experience with you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Ella Dubray. I currently work with YMCA Crew as the communications lead and as the youth advocacy worker. And I'm also an ex-international student, an MBA student from University of Chester. It's an honor to be here and to be part of this initiative. Thank you.
Fantastic, guys! I'm really excited to be part of this our very first episode. I mean, what we want to cover is all the things that are of interest to international students studying in the UK. Obviously, University of Chester, we're blessed with lots of international students from lots of different countries, but we want to cover topics more broadly that affect international students. And I feel a little bit of a fraud here, guys, because you two have both been international students and been incredibly successful. So what I'd like to do is ask you guys to explain your stories a little bit about how you journeyed through as a UK international student and how you got to the successful places where you are as a starting point. So Trevor, perhaps we could start with yourself.
Oh, very good. Thank you very much. And I think, indeed, I can actually remember my very first day. I'll start from the day I got my visa, applying for the university, getting the visa, looking forward to it. Okay, how's it going to look like? Lots of thoughts, families. And at that time, remember, we didn't have lots of international students like we do today. That was in 2007, which is about 17 years ago. So found myself in Sheffield to do my MSc in International Business and Management at the time. Quite interesting. Got to Sheffield. I will not forget my very first experience, which was really funny. This was where I think that was my first wake up call, because what happened at that time was on getting to Sheffield, I felt I had the timetable clearly with me, and I understood the fact that I needed to be at the university for my enrollment. They had the time there, but for some reason, I felt it was like back home. Back home, when they tell you is going to happen between Monday and Tuesday, is never the case. There's always something known as late enrollment. So I felt like, okay, I'll take my time. It's not going to be, if they say 2 to 4, it's never going to be 2 to 4. So I got there really late on the last day. And then they said to me, oh, what time do you have the timetable? I said, yeah, I've got that. Okay. They looked at the timetable. Yeah, but it's not the time. So, yeah, I felt like the time is not meant to be that time. Say, no, here, the time is the time. Okay, so that was a really good experience. And I felt really like sad. I was walking back home. Remember, Sheffield has got lots of hills. So I'm now going to walk back. I didn't know my way, find my way back. What I went to university for, I could not achieve it on that day. So I have a good lesson to learn first day. So it wasn't, the first day wasn't like that exciting experience, but afterwards, yeah, there were some up and downs. Studying there, did very well. Lots of challenges. I'm sure in other episodes I'll be able to talk about specific challenges I did face. However, left Sheffield, then I took up a new course at London School of Economics. Now I wanted to study finance because my first degree is in accounting. So I said, all right, I'm going to do something else on finance while I'm waiting for my dissertation results. So I finished London School of Economics, finished finance, then came back to Sheffield, got my result, got my post-study work visa at the time. All right. I remember trying to get my first job with Enterprise and a graduate training job at the time. I think the first thing that happened was I passed every bit, and they said to me, I've got a full UK driver's license. I said, no, I've got provisions. All right. I'm not going to be driving. I said, well, you need a full driver's license. This enterprise, we rent out cars, so we expect you to at least be able to park a car. And we can, I said, I can park a car. No, because you've not got a license. So, started getting all the jobs, working, managing it. Then I came back to Manchester, moved into Manchester to start my MBA program. Again, exciting times here at Salford. Manchester was a bit different, more multicultural at the time. Remember, at the time, there were lots of people, settled in, finished my MBA program there at Salford. Then immediately I started my PhD program. Did my PhD, completed the PhD, and that was the first time I met Alex. Actually, we actually met then at Manchester. So started teaching. And how did I get my first teaching job? Alex, I don't know if I've got time to talk about that a bit. I'm sure that will be really good for other people to know about it. Okay, my very first teaching job. Is it okay? Good, thank you. My very first teaching job came from I was studying at Salford at the time, and I saw that few international students that we had, they were all struggling with dissertation writing. They weren't sure because this was something that was, they used to do projects back home, but then it was called projects. It wasn't this sort of in-depth, so everyone would tend to struggle. And I brought everyone together and I started organizing like free tutorial sessions, for international students. And that was our word, left that room to my then supervisor who sent for me, and I felt I was in trouble. Have you got 5 minutes? Do you want to pop up to my office? And what have you been doing with students? Like, okay, what's going on here? I said, nothing. In terms of dissertation help. I said, no, I don't do commissioning. I said, no, we're not talking of commissioning. We mean like supporting them. I said, yes. Then I felt proud enough to own up. So yes,
Hello.
I do that. So, all right, it's really good. And are you interested in teaching at all? If you could teach them that, and students can now move from point 1 to 0.45 when they go back to their supervisors, positive vibes and all of that. So what do you think? Okay, I haven't thought about it, but I'm happy to do that. So, all right, have you got a CV put together? Do you want to submit a CV? Guess what? That was how I got my first job as a teacher. So what's this story? Starting from trying to get a student visa, getting into the UK, going late for my very first session, and then getting all of these degrees. And now today, look at the journey. Found myself teaching at Salford for some years, then moved into Chester in 2016. And since 2016, 8 years now, I've been at the University of Chester. And you could see that experience, most of my own experience throughout my journey, tend to reflect in what I do today. And I'm indeed very pleased. And I'm sure that we've got other fantastic stories from international students. I'm sure that we're going to hear more of as we make progress. Thank you very much.
That's amazing, Trevor. Thank you so much. And I should explain as well why the show's called the International Citizen Student Show. It's at Chester, we've got something called the Citizen Student Strategy. And that's really about, your people, your place, building social capital, building networks, building up trust. And Chester's really well known for that, isn't it? It's, our international students tell us we're #1 for employability and the International Student Barometer, etc. So that's where it's come from. And look, talking of social capital, I can see we've got a lot of viewers already, and there's a stream of interesting comments and discussions happening already. And thankfully, our team are on hand to be answering some of those things while we kind of chat away about the International Citizen Student Show, which is excellent. It's worth noting as well that Trevor and Elaho and myself also run something called the Postgraduate Student Cafe at Chester. So we have hundreds of our international students get together, either through online or in person, and we go through all these kind of issues around visas and costs and so forth. But just for purposes of the episode 1 today and the International Citizen Student Show, we'll be kind of keeping an eye on your comments and our team will pick those up. And if there's any comments specifically relating to the show as well, we'll try and come to those before the end of the show. But before I carry on, I'd like to hand over to Ella, who's going to tell us a bit about her successful journey as an international student.
All right, thank you, Alex. Before I go into details about what I have done in the UK and where I am right now, I have about 3 slides which I would like you to pop up for me. The first one will be the data around international students in the UK. No, the other one, that's just purple with a little bit of icing on it. Next one. Yes, thank you. So looking at these, you would just see the trajectory through which how many international students we have currently, and you see the progression. 2021, roughly, and I think 2024 we deep down because of the new policies and all that. But you will see that there's been an increase in international students over the period from 2022 to 2023. But when we're looking at the different international students that are in the country, you would see from Pakistan, India, Nigeria, USA, loads and loads of international students. So we're not referring to international students and be thinking black skinned only or Asians only. We're looking across the spectrum of international students that these ICSS is going to cover. Also, the last bit of the slide would be the fact about the international students in the UK and their dependents, which is one of the major challenges most of the people who are joining us will face or might face or are facing as a result of studying in the UK. So we'll talk basically on top of on the 3 of them as we go on, but with these 3 we'll use to build bases to further on the conversation. But before I digress, I would just like to tell you a bit about myself and what I have done so far. So when I came to the UK, as just like every other normal international student, promise you I didn't come in 2007 like Trevor. I came in 2022. Thank you, Alex, for the slides. I came in 2022 and just recently in October, so it's not far away. So you can relate to me if you've just been to the UK of recent. And just like every other international student whom struggle to be on their feet or find the means of of living, like what can I do aside from studying, what can I use financially to augment my little money that I brought from my Nigeria or from my Kenya or from my Uganda. I moved into the normal stream of care work. Yep, I know a lot of us are doing these jobs, and to be honest, I wouldn't say the job was not beneficiary to me because it helped me in my first landing and my soft landing. All right, but there was more to me because I know in the country where I was coming from, I had led organizations, I'd walked across Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda. I know my capability and I know my capacity, and I know I'm not the only international student who have this kind of portfolio. So why will I return or come to the UK and want to do something that my passion does not align with, or I'm not maximizing my potentials? So I'll tell you the truth, but I'll tell you more in details in next episodes because it took me a fall. I had to fall off a bicycle for me to realize that I was in the wrong career path. And when I realized that, I had to reposition myself, work on my CV, asked for help. And that's one of the key things I tell international students preparing to come here or currently in the situation of looking for what to do and the next steps. Always ask for help. Help. Please help me. All right. And as much help as you can get before you finish your university so that you can start applying for roles and you can get sponsored on time before you graduate and you can transition to tier 2. But if you're on your PSW, to be honest, is also another platform for you to explore your potentials and do great things while you are in the UK. So I remain Ella Dubai. I currently work in YMCA Crew, which sponsored me as a tier 2. And I am happy to be here and would like to tell you more about how I have been able to move from a student currently to become a member of to work currently with YMCA Crew and the efforts to which I used to get here. Thank you.
That's fantastic, Alahoa. And it's really pleasing as well. Obviously, you've had a great experience through your MBA and it's done what, a master's and an MBA should do, which is got you to another stage of your career, isn't it? So I think to have achieved a skilled worker visa in such an important role, obviously it makes us really proud as well. And you must be thrilled. And recently married as well, Alahoa. What a year it's been.
Yeah,
Oh,
it has
fantastic.
been a
Thank
roller
you. Well,
coaster. It has been a roller coaster.
we've got absolutely tons of comments here. A lot of these comments our team will pick up because they're about kind of specific questions about particular situations, which our team will pick up. But in terms of the actual show, there's a little one here, Trevor, which I'm sure you feel with joy from Zany, who's got an unconditional offer for the MBA. So that's exciting. So Trevor being our MBA director will be thrilled by that, and we'll be seeing you soon at Zany on our beautiful Queen's Park campus. And then Amy
Absolutely.
asked the very pertinent question here as well. She's saying, what are topics are going to be covered on our International Citizen Student Show? So I think that's a very good timing to sort of segue us into talking about that. I mean, we'd love to know what you guys would like to see us cover in the next episodes. What topics are pertinent to you. We're going to be inviting some guests in. Maybe you've got some suggestions for guests that you want us to bring onto the show as well. But in the meantime, I'll ask Elahor and Trevor. What would you like to see covered in the next episodes?
Over to you, Trevor.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for that, Alex, and thank you, Zany. I think I'm really, really proud. I love that comment. You got an unconditional offer to come join the NBA winning team. Hello, I'm sure you can attest to that, isn't it?
It is.
Best, so make sure we're looking forward to you, and I'm looking forward to having you there as part of the team. And I'm sure you get all the support. At least you've heard the LO story. Myself, I've got an MBA, so don't worry, you're going to be in good hands. In terms of what we want to cover, Alex, I'm thinking because this the International Citizen Student Show is going to be supporting both prospective students, current students, and even past students or like alumni. So I think it's important that we start thinking about things around UK education. Maybe we could start from there. Why is it important? What sort of value do you get from it? And one way we could actually discuss that, like we've already done today, is to share some of the stories. Yes, not all of them are all rosy, or gloom. There are some that might not be as interesting. However, I think it's important that we share some of those stories. What is it? Why the UK? Why the UK? Why UK universities? What are those pull factors? Why do you want to come here? I think it would be important that we share that as part of our coverage for the show. And also, I think it's also important that we talk about some of the issues which I know from the PG Cafe you did mention earlier, which we do organize. You find out that how do students succeed? How do we succeed here, particularly from an academic point of view? So what are the sort of support system that is here at Chester, in other universities? How can you access help? LO did make mention of the word help. So help academic, help pastoral. So I think that will be something else I also want us to cover as part of the show, so we could look at, it could be times we want to talk about assessments, it could be time we want to talk about essays, it could be time we want to talk about student life in terms of cultural issues, those little bits to be aware of, how to prevent falling victims. I've had students come back to me to say, all right, I was somewhere in Liverpool, I tried to rent a house, I saw someone on Facebook, I've paid some money, went there, and I never got my money back. How do we prepare people? How do we help them so that people don't become victims? Because that first experience is as important. When you come into the country and you find out that some of these experiences are not as pleasant, that could just make you feel so demotivated from the first day. So I think let's start from that sort of topic areas. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, it can be a real culture shock. I think for many of our international students, it's the first time they've been to the UK, and it is a culture shock. Just before I come to you, Elahor, you've got some fans already that enjoyed your presentation there. So Asians really enjoyed your presentation there. But do you remember your first day, Elahor, or anything memorable for in terms of culture shock?
Yes, to be honest, I was excited about leaving my country to the UK. It was not my first time leaving my country, though. I've been to Kenya, Rwanda, but mostly African countries. But it was my first time to move to Europe or to the UK, and I was really, really excited. I usually sleep in the train, in the plane when I'm flying, but to be honest, I was so excited that I could not sleep. I was looking out for what I'm going to do on my first day when I arrive and all that. And there's a part of support which I would also say, if you have relatives, if you have friends, before you come, inform them, because they could give you soft landing. And my very first day was very awesome because I had family and friends who came to take me up from the airport, and it was practically I did not go to my enrollment late like travel. I was on time, and and I had everything pretty much going for me. So I had no issues in settling down because I had people who had already been there advise me on what to do and how to do it.
That's fantastic. It's really good to see. We've got people tuning here from VPKs here coming from East Africa and Kenya. We've got people coming in from all over the place. Our team are picking up kind of specific questions, but we'd love to hear any your thoughts, questions, or suggestions or comments. For what we might cover on the show as well in future. I think, like you say, Trevor, we could certainly do a bit of a Q&A at some point as well, but we can't really pick up individual questions like about study. Well, obviously our team will pick up some of those things, but you're better contacting the our in-country people or our international office as well. What we want to cover really in the show is the kind of key issues, I suppose, in the that for international students. Trevor, anything else? What else would you like to see covered on the show? Any particular guests you think we should bring in?
Yeah, there could be a few we'll bring in. There could be a few of them we can bring in. I'm sure we can be able to address some of these issues, as we go on. But I think the audience will be something that will really help to inform the sort of guest we'll be considering, in terms of, for example, if our audience are going to be like, for example, mainly prospective students, we could bring someone from the internationals department, from internationals to come talk to them in terms of, okay, how do we talk around? I've been seeing some questions on the side asking about, it could be questions around IELTS, it could be questions around CAS, so those are specific we might not be able to address. So having someone coming, provide the basic information and then take a bit of question and answer, I think that might be also really useful. But in terms of other stuff, I'm sure we'll be able to contribute to that. And maybe as we go on as well, as we move on, where necessary, we could bring in, could be an immigration expert, it could be a study, the visa expert, it could be one, just like we do for the PG Cafe. So I'm sure we'll be able to bring in some support services that will be really useful.
Wonderful. And it seems people are tuning in from further afield as well. The Olakitans here tuning from Nigeria as well. So it is great to to have people tuning in from around the world and picking up some of these topics. So we'd love to hear what you'd like to see. I think what I'm interested in. I think certainly when we have talked to our international students at our postgraduate cafe and so forth and said, what topics would you like to cover? Is very much about employability, jobs, the types of the workings of graduate visas or skilled visas, etc. Because I think part of an attractive thing about studying in the UK as well is the opportunity to work, isn't it? And that's kind of working alongside your studies, which obviously the visa will allow part-time work, and then obviously graduate visas and skilled worker visas. So there's lots of opportunities. And of course, it's quite often a shift in landscape as well. Ella, how have you found it? Because obviously you had to kind of identify companies that would offer a skilled worker visa, which is a more permanent visa, isn't it? So how was it navigating that landscape?
To be honest, I'd say that I did not actually look for organizations who were sponsoring. In my own scenario, all I wanted was an organization which was in alignment with my passion, because I had robust experience in social entities, enterprises, and nonprofit. So I was looking for one that was local, close to my house, where I can give back to the community and impact. All right. So when I got it, they've never sponsored anyone. They had to register to get me sponsored when they saw my value. So it's sometimes you might find yourself in an organization that have never sponsored or is not sponsoring, but when they see the quality of things you give or the value to which you bring into the organization, you might be lucky. But I'd usually advise go for organizations that clearly states that they are sponsoring. So if you know that's your target, and make sure you do your very best. I would like to also add that in the future, what I'm looking at is topics that cover social capital. When you come to the UK, how do you interact with people? Who are the people you look out for? How do you maximize your network? Remember, your network is your net worth. So how do you capitalize on the people you meet? You might meet them in the train or on the bus, but they can be the next step to your next dream. So yeah, that's it from me.
Great stuff. There's a specific question there about working, students and working in the UK. And certainly, with our master students in term time are working 20 hours, and that can be in different ways. And then obviously outside of term time, they could do more work and up until the end of the study. So that's an opportunity there. On that point, actually, it's worth I think any prospective students to Chester or to the UK more generally, checking the those programs to see what opportunities there are for work experience during study. So as I mentioned, Chester have really well recognised by our international students. I think #1 for employability in the last International Student Barometer. But it's worth looking what's in that program. Like, is there a work-based learning option or a placement option? And certainly now at Chester, we've got a new work-based learning module, and we've got a 2-year master's options coming up as well. So that would allow a placement or project to be studied in the 2nd year. But even if not, it's kind of, if you make use of the university's network and connections and offers, at Chester, we've got some really good job boards. We've got resources specifically for international students, like a service called Student Circus, for example, that prepares students for work and ring fences, those right offers. So wherever you're thinking of studying, so whether it's in Chester or somewhere else in the UK, I think it's really worth looking at those, because the majority of our international students are looking for their study, whether it's undergraduate or postgraduate, to unlock new opportunities for them, aren't they, ultimately? So I think that's really key, isn't it, ultimately?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Alex, I was just going to say, I think we've got some few questions on the comment side. I don't know if we've been able to capture all of that. I'm happy to, maybe there are some of them we can just pick at random and maybe address if we can.
Yeah, okay, Trevor. There's key ones. Do you want me to? Could you promote any of those, Trevor? Do you want to pick a particular one? What are you thinking?
I think someone was asking. They've got some that have to do with CAS letters and everything. To say yes, CAS application deadline. We've got some here asking around if there are scholarship opportunities. Some are asking about the delay in visas in Kenya, to say, oh, is there any way they can make that process a bit faster? So just to address that, for example, yes, we understand that getting the visas might take some time, because again, even here, there are lots of issues around visa backlog, delay in processing that. At the University of Chester, we are very aware of that. And as part of that, we do have a system in place to look after that. So, for example, where we have students who don't get their visas early to come around, as a department, as a business school, we do make sure that we have plans in place to support some of those students. So if it happens that you fall within that category, the expectation is, if you come into University of Chester, be rest assured that we have the system in place to support you, where we can provide, sometimes we've even had situations where we provide hybrid learning for the first week or two where you've got that visa delay. And when you come, we also have processes in place to see how we can further support you, to see that how do you catch up, How do you know what to do in terms of assessment? So you will be looked after. So it doesn't really matter the time of the visas. We cannot influence the timeline for the visas. All we can only suggest to you is apply on time, get your class, apply on time, and as soon as you get your visa, make every preparation to come down. But if for any reason there's any delay, don't panic too much. All you need to do is stay in touch with the internationals department, send them email, tell them about, all right, I've got this visa being delayed. Let them know that while you're already preparing. Already keep checking your emails at that time, because what we will do, we'll send you emails, we'll tell you where you can join some sessions via MS Teams. We'll tell you who to reach out to should you have any concerns. So the point is, don't panic, okay? I understand you said there's a lot of issues there in Kenya. Don't worry about that. All we just want is apply for the visa, get ready, continue to check your email. If there are online sessions, use the link provided, join those sessions, ask questions, engage like you would normally do. Okay, so we are aware of that as a university. We've been doing that for the past 2-3 years. So we always make that sort of contingency plan to look after our students who've got any sort of visa delay or visa issues.
That's great, Trevor. Thank you. There's quite a few people asking about their country managers, and our team have responded there. But there's so much information on the University of Chester website about the application dates and so forth, and who your country advisor is. So I think our team have posted on the international website, which you can find through the Facebook page as well. There was an interesting question there about scholarships from the USA. Again, that's all outlined on the University of Chester's website. My understanding, I think they're just some £500 scholarships, but equally, it's worth digging around and looking on the latest information on the website, and getting in touch with us as well, and seeing what the opportunities might be. I understand certainly for master's study from the USA, the UK is quite a good place to study, because you can complete your master's in 13 months. And of course, Chester's a beautiful historic city, excellent value for money, as we've seen in our surveys and so forth. Compared to living in the south, it's excellent value, but it's also absolutely beautiful city to live in as well. So quite a good opportunity there. We've got some good partnerships growing as well in the USA and in India and beyond as well. So that's all helps with things like that. So thanks for that question. Elaho, anything else? Any kind of challenges you think as well that we should be thinking about, or any particular questions you want to pick up?
Okay, so there's a question on the comment section. I think it would give a response to the person. It might go a long way. So do you have any tips for the visa process to be more successful?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
And all I would say is, given my past experience, be honest, be truthful, be detailed, and follow the whole instructions. The 4 things you have to do: be honest, be truthful, follow the instructions as ascribed on the application process. Do not cut corners in getting your papers, because in the long run, it might come back to bite you. So make sure you get all those sorted when you're doing your visa. And believe me, you will get your visa as fast as possible when all your documents are as per. And then there was another one from the same person that says, do you have any tips for deciding on which accommodation route to go through in terms of private accommodation or university-owned accommodation? Do whatever your pockets can afford. That's the basic truth. If your pocket can afford something, go for it. If it cannot, don't go for it. So you will not get stranded when you come to the UK. That's it. Thank you.
It's probably worth saying about accommodation as well. A lot of our international students live on the train routes, the bus routes to Chester. We've got what's called block delivery. So that means that students have got time to work. They'll come into the university on set days. They've got time to work, and they quite often, choose to live in Chester or Liverpool or Manchester, on the train and bus routes, and kind of come in as well for that. And I suppose that dovetails into this interesting question as well from VPK Scenes. What makes Chester University unique, or rather stand out? I'm going to have a stab at that before I bring you guys in.
All
Well,
right.
we've alluded to this a little bit. I think those block delivery and 3 intakes make it really palatable, I think, for international students to be able to come in and come into the university, take advantage of all that, and then live and work in the surrounding cities, Chester, Liverpool, Manchester, and sometimes further afield. But for me, it's that historic, beautiful city. It's quite often voted one of the most beautiful in the UK. It's myself and my family, we absolutely love Chester as a place, and our the business school in particular have got its wonderful campus at Queen's Park, right next to the river. But the whole city is a campus, and it's very it's small, compact, very safe, but really interesting. But in terms of what makes it stand out, well, I think that's a unique thing. But also talking about the citizen student and so forth as well, the results that we get, and we're very high up in terms of the student feedback that we get in things like the WUSCAs and the International Student Barometer, which is about, last time I think it was about 146 universities, but to come number one in employability and lots of other categories relating to that, and to rate so highly for value for money, I think again separates us as well. So that would be my answer. What about you, Trevor? What do you think? What makes Chester unique?
Oh, good. I've taught in different universities. I've studied in different universities here in the UK and mainland Europe. I've done stuff around the world when it comes to teaching, when it comes to studying. I can tell you here at Chester, one unique thing is at Chester, for all my MBA students, I can tell you this for sure, and I know that is something that reflects across Chester. In Chester, you are not just a number, okay? We don't just count you as one of the students. That's not how we see you at Chester. At the University of Chester, we know you are you, and we understand that you have your unique needs, and we tend to tailor our services and our education to meet that need. So we are aware of that. And for example, that is one of the reasons that led us to setting up the PG Cafe. All right, how do we support international students? Looking at cultural issues. So whatever we do, we tend to think about you as as a person, so not just as a number. So in Chester, you are not just part of the crowd. We know you exist, we know you there, and we are there to look after you. And this is something, and I'm sure Eloy is here, so I wouldn't just say it. Eloy is someone who was, she just recently graduated now from the MBA team, and she knows that about me, and that's same for my colleagues. Most of my colleagues, they just know that it's important we support you. Our undergrad students will tell me, for example, the undergrad students will tell me, Trevor, being here is so tailored, like it's like you're getting that sort of bespoke sort of services, learning opportunity where someone can come back, look after you. We've got these part services in place where someone is actually checking on you, telling you to go to class. Someone's reminding you, even as an adult. So we don't want to assume that you're an adult, you know what you're doing. We don't police you, but we make sure we're here to support you. And that reflects in our results. It reflects in the experience, the positive student experience, and it reflects in the feedback that our students do provide. And so once you're in Chester, you're part of a family. It's a Chester family. So that's one unique thing, and I think that really matters.
Great stuff. Thanks for that, Trevor. So we've covered that question already. We can't cover all the questions today, but we will try and pick those up outside of that as well. But there's a fairly specific one there for Shab about, after completing university, will I stay home for some time before I've got work to do, or I will get work to do immediately I complete the university? So obviously it will depend on your visa, and it will depend at what point you arrive before those 3 intakes. We hope that you'll arrive before induction and you'll have time to settle in and find your accommodation and find everything that you need, and then induction should introduce you obviously to studying and life in the UK, and then you'll start off to doing the work. But certainly at master's level, the 13-month program is fairly intense, so you'll start work fairly quickly after induction. There's quite a lot of comments about accommodation as well. I know Brian was asking about tips on deciding which accommodation, whether it's private accommodation or university owned. and Amy's asking kind of what the costs are in Chester. I think obviously all the accommodation is outlined on the website, and what you decide will really depend on who you are, what your budget is, what your requirements are. Accommodation can be sometimes limited in the city, the place where your university is, and Chester is no different. As I mentioned, we have a lot of students living in Liverpool, Manchester. We've got the university-owned accommodation would usually tend to be in Chester. So outside of that would tend to be private accommodation. Elahor, have you got anything to add to that?
Like I mentioned initially, also look for accommodations that align with what you can afford, and also if you can, for the first few months, say find a friend if you have, who you can share with. If not, try to make sure that you have your fundings when you come in to get an accommodation. From a student's perspective, if you leave Chester a little bit and go into the towns, you might find cheaper accommodations compared to in town. But if you are looking for excellent bespoke services, 247 support in Chester's accommodation, you will get that. Yep.
Great stuff. There's quite a few about jobs as well. Amy's asking about, she's saying that she's heard that part-time jobs are difficult to get in Chester because it's outside of London. Is that true? I would say no, that is false.
No.
We mentioned as well, most of our students are working. They may be working outside of Chester in all the surrounding areas, but that's certainly that one is definitely not true, Amy. So, but thanks for making that.
Yeah. Alex, and someone did mention that, and did mention, he said, in incoming sessions, can you briefly explain different master's departments? I've applied for MSc in health. Yeah, I think so. That might be something we want to look at. Yeah.
Okay, Trevor, do you want to have a stab at that one?
No, I say incoming sessions. So maybe what we need to do, I think she was suggesting what we could do. Yes, incoming sessions. Yeah.
Great stuff. Yeah, obviously the masters and departments and the programs are all outlined on the website. MSc Health Services Management is obviously one of our really popular programs. We've got lots of students from around the world, and particularly we've got a lot of students from India and Kerala on that program, which is great. Some kind of people with some interesting experience as well. So obviously it's all outlined in the website, and we could outline that further in the future as well. Oh, Amy's also on the health services management. So there you go, Amy. You've met a friend there already. There's some questions there about financial support and scholarships and so forth as well. So Brian's asking about financial support for international students and undergrads as well. I think Chester really well known for value for money. So coming back to the earlier question as well around, London is really, really expensive to live. Chester is much more better value for money. But in addition to that, there is financial support for all of our students, including international. We try to do whatever we can to reduce costs. The fees of the courses are very well priced, very competitive. We try to do cost of living funds. We try to, provide low cost things where we can. I don't know, Elahor, if you've got anything to add to the financial support aspect.
When I applied to my university, Chester, I got a deduction. I think they called it, I don't know what they called it, but I got a 2,500 discount, which really helped. Yeah. So it was a discount which I got after I got my admission. So sometimes you might get discounts. Sometimes you might apply for scholarships and get it outrightly. So also it depends on the kind of course or the type of course you're going for. So I'd advise, if you're looking for support, make sure you look for as many as you can and apply to as many as you can. You never can tell which one will come back to you being positive.
Great stuff. And we're kind of running out of time now, but I'll just pick this one up quickly as well about working more than 20 hours between semesters. Yes, outside of term time you can do, and after the end of your studies. And then there's obviously the option to apply for graduate visa. It's worth mentioning as well, we've got lots of kind of entrepreneurial stuff happening, and that's worth looking at for any applicants, you know, if you're interested in setting up your own business, there's a support there through things like at Chester, we've got the venture program. We're working with some brilliant partners as well, like Grosvenor Hart Homes, who've got an incubation space, etc. And then, you know, there are visas to apply for to launch your business in the UK as well. So there's lots of opportunities there as well. So I think we've got through quite a few of those questions. We will try and pick up some of them, more of those through our team. But please do get in touch with us as well. You can find us on LinkedIn as well, on the International Cities and Students Show. You can obviously follow us through Facebook as well. We'd love to hear from you. You know, send us a comment. You will also find myself, Alex Fenton, Trevor, and Elaho. You will find us all on LinkedIn as well if you want to connect with us and send us a message. So I don't know, Elaho or Trevor, have you got any final thoughts to conclude episode 1 of our International Cities and Students Show? Okay, so I think.
Okay, I just want to say thank you very much to everyone for all your wonderful comments, questions, and thanks for following us. And believe me, the next episode is going to be like, we know what you want now. We know what we're going to come with. We're not going to be coming here to tell you about we missed our trains. We're going to come here to provide real solutions. And just to also help us, I also suggest to you that when you come in for some of these sessions, do come with questions. You know, just leave your questions there. We'll definitely be addressing them. And please continue to engage with University of Chester website, our Facebook page, so where you can also get answers to some of these questions that you might have. Okay, so thank you very much. And thanks, hello. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Fantastic. Good episode 1, everybody. And thanks, everybody, for joining us and for your comments, and keep those coming. So I'm going to roll the end credits, and we'll see you. We're aiming to make this show monthly, so we'll see you in approximately 4 weeks. But in the meantime, get in touch with us. Take care, everybody.
Bye.